side. And we're underway. A northern plane going straight down the south, just over the right-hand side of Los Leones. So we're going to see Myanmar coming out in match 1. Philippines versus Indonesia. As the teams jump out, we can see a nice sea of red. Just not a single blue player in the middle there. Running around Crater. Interesting.
I find it very weird how so the whole server's up in this northeast. Right? We have no one towards Chumacera. One guy at Los Leones, no one towards El Pozo. So, yes, it's very hard to get to that west side because of this plane, but the fact that we have so much congestion, I mean, you look at that San Martin, where we have maybe 10 players on each side there. So I expect we're going to see a lot of early gunfights. And the success of those early gunfights can really contribute to how well you do late game. Because if you're looking very nice, I mean, the colours are the wrong way around, but I'm pretty sure, I can't tell if it's actually
I think so.
Indonesia red.
It's Indonesia are red.
It's just wrong at the top.
I think it's wrong at the top. But yeah, there we go. The first blood of the game. I am Bop, does fall, not representing Philippines on his finest. Currently, as Indonesia, Tiju manages to grab that kill within M16.
Philippines that are good in the circle. I have to think that through.
Yeah, right.
Do some maths. We saw them all around the Minas Generales area, which is generally speaking where you see the circle. We'll sort of go east of that Bendita region, on the road. Talking of on the road, there's the Philippines, ? Yes, the Philippines grabbing a kill. So that man advantage is swinging heavily in the Philippines, I think. I'm trying to work out what's wrong, what's right. My brain.
This can't be right, Shane.
I've not been awake lost to Indonesia in game. Indonesia are currently 6 kills down, which is going to be rough. Because we talk about 3-man advantage being big, and it was just going to swing even further in the Philippines' favour because they didn't get the flush.
Zero, he does know that there's 2 people in that car. He gets 1 knock. And he's going to fall back. Does hear the second player come pushing him in the construction. Just sees a glimpse of him. Doesn't take the fight. His teammate, team kill? Is it? Maybe?
the guy in the next building just got shot by his own teammate. That's rough. It's something we saw happen with Thailand a lot. Why are you pressing there? There's another kill coming in. So now it's 7-man advantage for Philippines. To think about every time I say it. But that's really, I mean, we talk about 3-man advantage being massive. So when you get to 7, that's almost unassailable. That's you have to have someone make a hero play on your team if you want to bring it back.
The hero play is coming in by Zero. He's going to run in half HP. He's going to get drop shotted. Hello? That's the second drop the shot we've seen in this series.
We're playing a different game.
completely surrounded by Indonesia.
And that's the first kill going in the way. It's like Star Wars.
You really don't want to be down there if you're a Filipino player. That's for sure. And there we go. Here comes the drive-by. Yanni gets tagged up, but does fall back, eventually managing to get cover from his teammates. Nope, he's going to actually get knocked by his teammates.
Oh, no.
They can't see main tags. Everyone looks like enemies from a distance if you're on the same team, unfortunately. So
this is where communities spread out. When we look at that, I mean, how spread out they are the circle. They're taking a lot of control and getting a lot of presence. But we've seen in the past that sort of playing as one death stack, the blob strat, as is sort of becoming known, is much stronger because you take a fight that's like 30 versus 10, 30 versus 5. Realistically, I mean, the minority team can't win that. Right? There's just no way. So if the Philippines starts grouping up, starts taking those crashes, like if they crash this compound with 10 players, there's nothing the Indonesian players can do about it. But if they keep letting themselves get picked off one by one like this, and the man advantage starts to swing back in favour of Indonesia, then a game which was looking really easy for the Philippines when they had, I think it was a 7 or 8 man advantage, is really going to go the other way.
Yeah, but look at how aggressive. So you can see Indonesia, they have all these spots just spread out in the circle, and they've got one aggressive compound up there, straightforward, their front line, as I like to call it, while the rest of the Philippines, they're trying to get in. And they're kind of dictating exactly where the other team can get into the circle from. And you can see as soon as they try, they get knocked. Solidite, he goes down.
Yeah, we talk about power of high ground. I think I've said that sentence about 3 or 4 times now. And I think that's the one saving grace for the Philippines, is they have the north and they have that Bendita area. And they can use both of them to sort of shut down the fields and force the Indonesian players to play in sort of congested positions like this compound now, where we have probably 10, maybe more players, all in this one place. Yes, that means the compound is very defensible, but it also means that you don't have as much map control. You don't have as much presence on the map because you're all being forced into this one area. But the one big upside to this is that the Philippines are sort of locked out to their northwest. And yes, if the circle goes there, then a great place. But it's a little bit rough for them. If the circle comes anywhere except the west, then it's going to be really rough for the Philippines to find a way through this circle.
Defiant crawling away as fast as he can, but it's not gonna bode well. Actually, it might do because they have to come up and crest on that hill. But no, oh my god, no! He just survives in a slither of health, but he does get traded. Well, a knock.
What a circle!
But you do get knocked back into cover, and this circle looks quite even. Actually, a lot of the Filipino players very close to just get into that circle, whereas Indonesia, it looks like they've got a lot of open land around near them.
Yeah, but all that open land is unplayable because of that Indonesian compound in the center. I mean, yes, it's downhill, but all those teams on the north now, if they want to come down that hill, they have to make the gauntlet run in the open and really get lit up by this compound. You see all these players that just try and make it out of the compound now. This guy's probably have 4 or 5 players shooting him, and there he goes. So yes, there's a lot of Filipino players in the circle, but realistically, this compound is swinging that man advantage back in the favor of Indonesia.
Have you seen? Look at the amount of Indonesian players in that little compound.
Yeah, it's basically the whole team at this point. It's like 2/3 of the team.
They are literally fish in a barrel, and
and saving grace is that they're in a circle, because now if that circle goes west, it swings from a game where this compound is really strong to this compound is basically your coffin. So yes, I keep saying this compound is quite important, but the fact that the Philippines still have control of all this high ground on the north and on the west means that anyone trying to leave this compound, anyone trying to play in the open, is just going to get lit up and killed instantly. I'm still looking at that man advantage. We said early game is not that important, but when you're now getting to this point, if we see a big fight break out, which yes doesn't necessarily happen on Miramar and Erangel, but if we do see that 20 versus 20, the 3-man advantage really should come out in favor. And if they can effectively trade as a team, then realistically, Philippines should be winning that one.
1 minute, 7 seconds. Indonesia stuck in this compound. It might be the best position right now, but it's going to be the next circle that dictates whether or not it is still going to be the best position. They're safe with the covers of the rock-solid concrete that they have surrounding them. However, they are completely encircled in. This is a siege.
You see how many bullets are just hitting constantly. You could just hear peppering just 20-odd players shooting that one compound. But that player with the level 3, that's the kind of thing you want. We spoke about trading being a big thing, where it's very hard to get more than one kill. But when you have that level 3 armor, the level 3 helmet, and you have the either a big green gun with the Orm or something like an MK14, that's when you need to be able to step up and you need to be able to get 2 or 3 kills and really swing the man advantage, because you're the player with the best gun in the game. You're the player with the best armor in the game. So you need to be able to be victorious. And once again, we see players getting picked off one by one from the Philippine roster.
Yeah, but just before that, we did see Indonesia grabbing 2 kills. So they are slowly whistling down the forces of the Philippines. But you can see there's encirclement, and the circle just goes straight in. And Indonesia, they don't have to move, Saint. They can stay.
Mm-hmm. And now there's players on the northeast and the players on the north for the Philippines are starting to get pushed out of the little cover they have. They need to. I think for now they can still play on the North Ridge for this circle, but realistically, unless we see some god shift towards the north, all those players are now going to have to come down into the open. And that team on the west as well, like, where do they go? And yes, they have a car, but they only sent 2 players here. They could have sent 4 in that car. I think you can actually put 5 in. So the fact that they only sent 2 means that you still have a lot of players stuck up top.
Just peeking out TD, seeing the level 1 helmet on the head, but he gets tagged himself in the head. Level 3 helmet, going to stop him from going completely down. But he's still going to keep facing. What
he just does not care. The balls on that man.
What a man! Oh my!
But I feel like now Indonesia needs to focus east, because all these players have to come out of the hard cover they have. They have to come off the plateau at the top and sort of play around the edges of the ridge, and that's when they can start pushing that man advantage back in their favor. And we see in the kill feed now, Indonesia is starting to light up. Trade does come in, but because they're all in this compound, it's pretty much impossible for any knock to get flushed, right? Because you're peeking a window and then you get knocked and suddenly you're behind complete hard cover. So realistically, all you can do to those players in the compound is economy damage, where you're taking their helmets off, taking the vests off, forcing them to use their meds. And that's when late game it could be useful. But right now, it's more important for the Philippines to try and find some kills. And realistically, I don't see a way they can get any.
You can see Indonesia are getting the knocks.
I thought it was going to light the team up there.
That's what the AWM is all about. If you want to do damage to their economy, you just get that out and you land some shots. Be taking care of level 2 vests quite nice and easy. But as you can see, we're watching Tracker M4 and Gwambi. UMP, he's waiting for the circle to shift to close range. He has just an SKS and a UMP, so he wants to get a bit closer. You can see the charge down the hill coming in from the Philippines. They're being lit up right now, but they've got no other option. BMG, my boy. Oh, God. They do fall, but Ed V. King, he does get traded in reply. What? Is Jules kidding? Is he actually... He's not joking about this. Oh, he's trying to flush. I thought he was going to try and get the res off. He might be able to.
He should be able to get there, I think, because now realistically that whole eastern presence for the Philippines has been destroyed.
19,
it's just these groups on the west. Yeah, I mean, we saw a 7-man advantage to the Philippines, and it's just gone. So Indonesia really bringing this game back, and now for the first time this game they have the ascendancy, and they have a lot of knocks right now in the north. All those players now needing to leave the compound. This is a perfect opportunity here for the Philippines to get aggressive, to push towards this compound when they have like 4 or 5 knocks at the same time. Because realistically, one knock, it's not just one player that you're taking out of the game. The player that then goes to res them also can't shoot. So if you can get 3 or 4 knocks, you're basically shutting down half of this team for at least 15 seconds.
The fortress Indonesia have built seems unpenetratable by the Philippines. They are trying to push, saying they should push. They have been trying, like you can see, they're sent
It's not easy.
Chris has just completely fallen. And what they've actually done, you can see, look, they've blocked off one of the entrances in the concrete with a burnt vehicle. So that's going to stop anyone from coming in from that way unless they vault over and take some precious time out from there. So very clever use of the environment right there. We can see Evil Patrick just trying to find Jules Kidding, give away position, doesn't get some shots, does get taken out as well. This push by Philippines just isn't happening, Sane.
Yeah, it's just because they have no vehicles, and so they have to make the gauntlet run in the open. They have that one car, but only one guy crashed the compound. So the fact that Indonesia has this compound, and the Philippines are sort of having to walk towards them, means that they just get picked off one by one. And now that's why Indonesia is such a big man advantage. And it isn't a perfect little flank, but he can't land his shots.
Oh dear, Ed V. King, he was rezzed. Oh, he hate to see that. Teammate. And now the nades are coming in. He's got the flank, all the nades, everything, what you can. One grenade gets it. The second grenade is going to come in. Nandu, he's going to get the spray down. There's a guy hiding in the smoke, going to flush the kills. Can't see. Yes, tagged up from the left and the right. Where's his team? They're coming in to clear up. One player alive in this area, and they do flush it out. They've got control. No, he's still alive.
He's still going.
Oh my God, Rafi Jones finds one in the smoke. He's going to get the knock.
How's he still alive?
Back down. He's still holding on. He gets the second. Ed V. King, he's coming round. Is he managed to get him? No. Goes back in the smoke. Does fall eventually.
And that was a point there where the game could have turned. I mean, I say that. Everyone on this West is not. I think that's probably a lie. But there was an opportunity there for maybe Indonesia to make a comeback. But realistically, I don't know, it had even worse. They had even less players that had an impact on the game. And I think that was because they got forced out of those positions, right? When the players on the North had to run down in the open. They're just going to have an impact. But it seems like this game, we're going to have a pretty nice split. We saw people dropping on top of each other in map 1. And it kind of feels like this game is changing.
Oh dear. Say, do you want to be starting off a game with, is that 3, 4, 5-man disadvantage?
Good counting.
26,
yeah, it's not nice. 22. But, I mean, they had I think it was 3 last game, right? They had the 3-man disadvantage last. But they're so isolated from the rest of the team. You said everyone was on the West except this little group. So it's going to be very difficult for this group to have an impact as it rolls through. Oh, there we go. They're all out. Ouch.
They're all out. Was that just one guy with a G36?
I believe so. It's 1.5 mags. So.
1.5 mags. Manages to hit all their shots, and that's 3 players down. Their deficit of players increases tenfold.
Yeah, last game we saw them come back from 7 down. This game they're going to have to do it from 8 down and no map control at all. And now we see, I said about that Southeast Hill, there's an opportunity here where Indonesia could swing on the east. This is going to be another vehicle.
We've already
made
seen
it.
Kill come out on the other side of the map with an M249. But we see now the fighting starts. Indonesia, they managed to find exactly where some of the Filipino
Here comes the
forces
flank.
are hiding. The flank coming in from 5 players right from the backside. Van Kiem manages to get 2 down. Meanwhile, the Edvi King does put 1 out, finds the headshot on Yanni.
And that man advantage, I mean, yes, it says 23-29 at the top, but realistically, this man advantage is much more even now because so many players are knocked around here. So Indonesia found that gunfight. We said how they were in these blocks and the Philippines were quite spread out. And they found that successful gunfight where there was only 5 or 6 Filipino players in this one area. And they were able to crash it. And suddenly, what was an 8-man advantage is only 3. But look at that circle. Look how little control they have.
Indonesia have got themselves a BRDM. They're taking it in, and they're all coming in from one side. Yanni being caught out in the open by everyone on Indonesia. But this Indonesian force needs to be a bit faster because you can see the Filipinos, they're coming in on a flank of their own. But look at the high ground the team has. They can see the entire compound. However, it is hard cover.
Yeah, Dino Hill, as I'm going to call it, is such a strong position to take because you can, as I said, you can isolate a lot of the circle here. And now, yes, the Indonesians have found a foothold in the southern edge, but the circle realistically is not going to end there. I mean, look how close to the edge of the map they are. And this is the entire team. So they need to find a way onto that hill. They need to find a way maybe to flank around the west. You know, they could swing with vehicles, but I think they've lost a lot of their cars now. They're sort of committed to this position, and maybe they're going to have to try and just take a straight-up gunfight, which is going to be really rough because that southeastern group of Filipino players can sort of enfilade the entire hill and take away any cover they had. And now, look at that. There's an opportunity here where the Indonesians could swing around the west. If they go around the hill and get into the middle of the circle, maybe they can do a repeat of map 1 where they flip the circles in their favor. But realistically, I don't see a way they can do it without getting maybe 5 or 6 players dying at least.
Got a full BRDM, but the problem is, it's built for squads. You're against an entire team. Everyone spraying that down is going to get blown up, and they're just going to drive it straight at the hill, Saint. They're just going. Led by TD.
I respect
Oh my
it.
God. Wait, they've gone so far.
I do think this is sort of the only play where they just have to take the gunfight. And those straight up gunfights are basically the way you win in all the maps, right? But the 3-man advantage should give Philippines the advantage coming into this. Just how important that is.
My boy, look at
I don't know how they've got up the hill.
TD. They managed to get a couple of knocks. They've got up the hill. They're driving the forces back. TD going insane. That's the second kill coming out from this little push here. He gets fired upon, drops to the floor, 44 HP, but he's got backup coming in. He sees grenades as well, picking up knocks and kills. Insecurity's finding Zircon too, but Indonesia have managed to do this. They pushed up the hill, Saint. They've stopped the Filipinos stopping their push.
I mean, the Philippines had a great group on the eastern side that had an enfilade on this entire hill, and they just left their position and allowed Indonesia to push onto this ridge. And we saw something like 9 kills go untraded in favor of Indonesia. And what was an 8-man advantage? Suddenly, it's another disadvantage. Indonesia, for the first time in this game, for the second time overall, taking a man advantage. But it's shut down. Look at that kill feed. The Philippines are starting to turn up, starting to swing the tide back in their favor. These players that are stuck behind have an opportunity to get a couple kills and really put a stop to this Indonesian push.
Wait, yeah, they are completely behind. It's just Tracker right now. You can see he is behind all of the Indonesian team, but he does have a couple of stragglers right behind him. But they might be a bit confused with all the... because the name tags, right? They might be confused. They might think he's a teammate because he's firing in the general direction. So
hit your shots. He's got an MK14 that he's not using, which I'm a little bit confused by. Because... Now he switches. He switches when the BRDM. What's going on?
BRDM's there. Okay, he's finally being shot at now by the Indonesians. The BRDM's reversing. He doesn't know what to do. He's got a rock. No point shooting it. It won't do anything. He finally run over. The BRDM. Have they got 2 BRDMs? Oh my God! HP. He's pushing up. Spots 2. Gets 1 knock. Pushing to the 3rd. Unable to do so. Only gets 1, isn't able to flush that kill out. Philippines pushes the aggressing push from Indonesia back, and they've got control of the hill again.
Yeah, and that kill feed, it was initially really in favor of the Indonesians, but the Philippines swung back. The Philippines got 5 or 6 kills in a row. I'm not sure what this BRDM's doing, but it's not really helping out. And now, 4-man advantage, but realistically, it's really even. Is he trying to run them over?
Brilliant.
What is going on?
He doesn't have time. He's got a lot of armor, though. So he's going to just Tokyo drift his way around back down the hill, get a bit more ramming speed, And it's just going to charge. It looks like Indonesia might be defeated here. He jumps out.
Oh.
He's unable to get the spray. The BRDM does fall. You can see Bot right there at the bottom, just hiding behind a rock and in grass. We've got Bot Vandal 2.
He has to do something incredible here, realistically. He's 1v11 because his teammate's not. So he has to find a way to kill basically a third of the Philippine roster, which realistically I don't see happening. But we've seen crazy things in the past. The Nations Royale, we've seen a 4v18, I think. So maybe. I don't want to say the game's over, but I think the game's over. But I'm so surprised that the Philippines found a way to win this. And because we saw, yes, they had that man advantage, the 8-man advantage early on, but there was something like 9 out of 10 kills untraded in favor of the Indonesian team when they started pushing on the hill.
Yeah.
But the Philippines were able to counterattack. They were taking down, not just spraying the rock. Realistically, he's not long for this world.
Nope, there we go. And that's going to be the final moment for him right there. Philippines, they managed to grab the second map on Vikendi. It looked like it was going to be very tough for them, considering the Indonesian...
They all sort of held firm. They all had an impact on this. But I'm looking at this circle now, and like I said, how it's sort of returning to Miramar. On Miramar, we had these sort of contest drops. So it didn't necessarily turn into a gunfight, but we saw teams sharing positions. And now we're seeing it again, where the Rosok area and the Pachinki area seem to be getting shared. And Indonesia with the early kill, I think that's towards apartments. So we do see that Indonesia's only got 28 players. I think.
Oh my God! Holy moly!
What a circle.
Hello, PUBG God.
I've not been up here for a while.
Okay, right.
Now it's a race. This circle is just a pure race to get, realistically, the southeast area, the southeast of Stawa, is where you want to get control of. RDK is doing a lot of work with that. That easy. He's got 2 kills already. There's 2 more players here, I think, for it's actually not a breach. But talking of breaching, the Philippines are trying to push the Indonesian players here.
Oh my God, that was the RDK. Managed to get another one. And they're just holding this. They've both switched to the shotgun. They're just going to run out. They're going to go for it. The miss, look, no, it doesn't work. Oh, everyone's on the stairs. RDK finally goes down. Eventually, Philippines, they managed to switch it. But look at that. 4 knocks, Saint.
Are they going to get the flushes though?
Yeah, and you can see Indonesia, they have a little backup squad coming in. They come in, they flush, and they're going to get the reses. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players.
What a hold.
Dead.
What a hold. RDK, I think, got 4 or 5 kills there. Massive. And both reses are going to come in. They're going to secure all those kills as well. And we pointed out that there's a 4-man advantage in the Indonesian favours. It's now going to be a 4-man advantage. It's a 4-man advantage to the Philippines. It's now going to be a 4-man advantage for Indonesia. So massive performance there by RDK to hold down the opponent. Well, I say hold down. They were actually the aggressors, pushing 2v5. Got all 5 kills. Perfect.
You got to style on them somehow.
Oh, what a way to start the game for Indonesia. And I mean, that kind of goes back to what we were saying before map 1, where maybe the Indonesians have that, but if there's only 2 or 3 players there and the rest of the team can't join in, or the rest of the team's dying on rotation like this, then even though those 4 or 5 players have a good spot, it's going to be very difficult for them to hold on, because eventually they're just going to get crashed by 10 players. But we see that big group on the south, right? The Philippine players rotating on the south. They need to take control of this area southeast of Staubach.
In all by himself, he's going to get taken care of very easily. But there we go. The information is passed on. This compound is not clear, boys. You can see
why send one?
Indonesian forces. They're falling back. They're going back up the hill. They've got to reevaluate, rethink their plan. Where's the commander when you need him?
That's the position where you just need someone to go, well, we know there's going to be players there because it's a really strong position in the circle and they've had ages to get there. So we know there's going to be people there. Just crash it with 6, 7 players. Send a big group. Ooh, okay, I think he must have crashed. Send one of these groups here. Just crash the compound with the large group. And you could just overwhelm them. Yes, you might lose a couple of players, but you have that man advantage to play around. And you can start to shut down these pockets of resistance.
Yeah, what is that? 4 Philip?
They had 5, and then they just sent one to die for no reason. They got 5 again, but...
And the problem here now, Saint, is now that they've shown them...
Where realistically, it was Philippines want to lose. And now, if Indonesia lose this, then just chalk the series. Move on. Just give it to the Philippines. What a circle.
Indonesia... They're just the better players, Saint. They read what the circle's going to do.
Get circle.
And they've got the calculators out, and they've calculated
they punch each other.
They've calculated it perfectly. They're getting a bit too excited.
There's still an opportunity. If they can if Philippines can take a good gunfight, there's an opportunity where, let's say they crash on the southern side before the rest of the Indonesian players can support it, and then they can overwhelm. And overwhelming is because of the amount of players on the server. It's a very viable strategy. But because that man advantage now, we see 7 in favor of Indonesia, it becomes less and less of an impactful strategy. Now you need to commit, instead of committing 20 players, get that it's battle royale. Because in squads, in duos, and solos, you're always trying to survive. That's the main focus of your playstyle. You're trying to get to the late game as a team, trying to make those slow and steady rotations to preserve your team, at least keep as many players up as possible. But now you've just got to take a gunfight. Treat this like a conquest game of Battlefield.
Yeah,
treat this like a team deathmatch and just take a big gunfight.
Coming over the hill, gonna try and fight Philippines. It looks like they've got some sort of control of the bunker as well, but everyone's all over the place. It looks like Philippines have no order to whatever they're doing. They're in a shambles.
You just have to form up in a block here and just hit something. And yes, realistically, you're going to have like a 20% chance of survival, 20% chance of winning. But if you do get that 20%, if you do get that low odds win, that's when you just win the game. And realistically, they're just not doing that. They're still pretty spread out. And yes, the fight's coming in, but now the man advantage is really coming in favor. 11-player advantage now for Indonesia. And they're just shutting down these pockets of resistance.
Looks like the Philippines, they're just trying to crawl back into cover, trying to get the reses off. That's 4 knocks actually, from what we can see. Indonesia, only 1 on the other side, and he's at the top of the hill, and he's going to get resed quite easily. The rest of the Indonesian force need to come and back this up, but they're just too slow. And they can't do so because, the Philippines need to come and back this up. Indonesia just have every single angle covered. They can't cross this open land. Philippines, I think they lost the timing on this.
Yeah, and just the fact that they had those little pockets, that is brutal. There's so many knock players. I mean, yes, it says 26-9, but realistically, I think there's 2, maybe 3 players up for the Philippines. So it looks like Indonesia has secured map 2 in pretty dominant fashion. And it was just that shift, really, wasn't it? I mean, that massive western shift just threw the game up in the air. I mean, I say up in the air, just put it straight into the lap of the Indonesian players.
Yeah, and what you mentioned something, and it was Philippines need to do this before Indonesia do something, and it was all about timing. And it really looked like in the playstyle, Philippines, they just hesitated. They didn't know what to do. They were pushing up slowly, not unsure about their play, and it just
ouch.
Well, it really does show. Somehow KP's still alive after 500 explosions around him. Mollies are going in. He's going to run into the smoke. Well, Edward King's going to run into the smoke, looking to increase his thing. He's going to run into the fire. He's burning. He's burning. He's burning. He's going to fall from the fire.
They're killing each other. You haven't won the game yet. Hello? Is he going to get a 1v21 without getting a kill?
The red's coming in. He might get on the red. The smoke is still up. He's going to run straight through. He's going to get run over. Oh, no!
I mean, it was 1v21. They just got 4 kills, but no, there he goes. Finally, someone shut it down. They stopped killing each other for a second. And Indonesia shut it down. 17-0. A bigger win than map 1, but realistically, it was all that shift.
Yeah, all that shift and the inexperience from Philippines by the looks of it.
It kind of felt like they were firing gunfights. And now, we've seen in the previous games that Indonesia didn't have full roster. They had like 27, 28 players joining the game. Now they've got 31. Now the Philippines don't have that early man advantage, it's going to be even more difficult for the Filipino roster.
Yeah, Philippines choosing not to go towards boot camp, but they are going to be, taking the fight for paradise, and it looks like it's going towards Indonesia's favor. They've already got 2 knocks, 3 knocks, 4 knocks, and Indonesia, they've won this area convincingly. Philippines left with 1 guy alive, BMG, and there's not much he can do. Going to slowly back out, try and get out of there, and regroup for the rest of his team. But he is surrounded. If you look at the map, just every single compound near him taken by the Indonesian team.
And if there was one thing the Filipino roster didn't want to happen, it was that. A gunfight where 4, maybe 5 of them go down without getting a single kill. And that's exactly what's happened here. I mean, maybe Merchant might be able to get a kill or 2 here, but now he's revealed his position. I think realistically he's going to get shut down. And that man advantage, it's already 4. It's probably going to be 5 very soon. That's rough, and especially on Sanhok, where it is, those big gunfights happen so early in the game. Realistically, around phase 3, you'll see like a 20 versus 20 gunfight. If you're coming into that gunfight 5 men down, maybe even more than that, it's so rough to win it.
Well, you can see Mr. Chan giving us a great expedition of parkour right now as he locks up the barrel. 3 people jumping over, manages to get 1. but he's just going to get sprayed down by the sheer force. And the team kills come out as well, just to add some salt to that spice. But you can see, well, the Philippines, they
had to win for me. They had to win both the Candies and the Sanok and then sneak a map somewhere. And realistically, I just don't see that happening with the way it's starting. I mean, yes, they get a kill here, but it's still, what, 10 versus 4?
Rysum managing to find one straggler on his own. Where you can see the Filipinos, they're also got backup of their own coming in as well. And they've kind of pinned and honed onto the position of where they are. A bit of team killing going on again, just a tiny bit. You can see the Philippines, Indonesia, they're breaking apart right now. You've got Rysum coming in behind them. He's managed to find 2 knocks. I think that might have been the 3rd as well. But it's just trade for trade right now. Unable to connect the shots. Rysum, hip fire is key right there. Switches to UMP, spots another one out, but he's just completely surrounded. Where's his team? Oh, yeah, Saint, they're dead.
And the big problem there was, yes, Rysum got like 4 or 5 knocks. He didn't flush any of them. I mean, yes, I think he got 2 down. He was the only player that actually flushed any kills there. And you see how many... That's not very cash money of you, Mr. Uncle Drew. At least the res is going to come in. It's just not the end of the world. But this right here, if the Filipino team wants to win this game, they have to find a massive victory here. They have to win this out and push the man advantage back in their favour, and I just don't see it happening.
Uncle Drew starts off by getting a knock onto the Indonesian side. Vox does the same as well, but Nandu, he manages to find 2 knocks along with RDK. We saw him get ham in the last game, but RDK, they've managed to counter-push this Indonesian push. He's so up close and personal with a QBU as well, managing to fall to 4 HP. TD's coming in on the backside, on the flip side, to save his life. But this is the kill squad of Indonesia. Look at the kills. Look at the players. It's RDK, Eddie, King,
look at the kill feed.
And they're just completely bagging. Shooting in the head, bagging them up, taking them to the morgue, taking them straight to the morgue.
I think we're
team. Where are they?
Gone. They're dead. They're gone. We're in circle 1, Teller, and 2/3 of the Filipino roster's gone. What's going on? The quickest game I think we'll ever see in a Nations Royale right here, unless someone's just going to go snake. But realistically, gunfights are the name of the game in this map, and the Philippines just took it like 5 at a time. And they knew there was like 10 Indonesia players here, and they just sent 5-man groups in every time.
Yeah, well, Yanni, somehow he's managed to survive. This is insane. This is all he needs. The rest of the Indonesian roster on his front. He's coming up behind. You just
1v20
out. He can't see someone looting. He can. Finds Edv King. I just take him down. But where's his backup? Where's his team? Where's the rest of the Filipino roster? Oh, no. Is 8 more?
Yeah, I think they're up north in Kao, I think. Or at least that area of the map. But realistically, that just shows, I think, the reason why Indonesia's won 2 of the 3 maps so far is that they're just better in a gunfight. Yeah, they're just working better as a team. They've got the slightly better mechanical aim, and that's why they just shut them down. Here's the final group. But I don't understand the... We saw the whole of Philippines wanted to converge in that area, wanted to take that gunfight. But it was like they were... What's that Molotov doing? Like they were considering it like a team deathmatch, you know, where they thought they could respawn because they just started running in before the rest of the team is there. And we saw that little group on the Indonesia, please. Oh no! Somehow Philippines will find a way to win this. But anyway, as I was trying to say, we saw that group come from the east, right? But there's 5 or 6 players that run in. And they just didn't wait for the rest of the team. You know, they just took the gunfight before the 10-man group from the north came. And I think if the Philippines had collapsed together, there was an opportunity where they could have won that.
There we go, the firing squad, the hit squad on the hill from the Philippines. They're shooting, they're seeing these knocks come in, and they're like, can we get some kills here? Like, whatever. But meanwhile, while they're all looking at Paradise, they've got a little Indonesian hit squad coming in from the forest, and they're moving pretty fast by the looks of it. They're out for kill, but they have been spotted. Defiant hides into a hut, has to heal up.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the Philippine players have recognised their plight here, and they're just trying to get it over and done with. You know, move to map 4. It's really, this is the map they had to win for me. I said it had to be Vikendi and Sanok that they had to win, and losing this map, yes, they got the Vikendi. But now coming into a Wrangle, which we've already seen them get smashed on. I think it's a Wrangle next. But coming into at least one of the maps that they've already lost, so we know they've already lost. You have to be coming into this thinking for Philippines that it's going to be a really rough final match. I think this is the quickest game in Nations Royale history, if it ends here. So I hope everyone's enjoyed it. As we see a slaughter, it's for sure the only game that's ever ended in phase 2. I think it's ever happened. Where's the last player?
Yeah, what?
Imagine if he's just like set a circle and Indonesians just start killing each other here. He just wins.
Wasn't he with the rest of the Filipinos over here?
No, there's one player just... Where the hell is he?
Are they actually flushing their kills? No, they're just knocking and then resing.
Yeah, but there's no one there to res. So... Where was the last player? I don't know where he's gone. Can we see the map, Mr. Observer? See where he is.
What?
What?
What? I know I'm colorblind, Saint, but I can't see.
But he's dead. He just died. Where the hell was he? Oh, he was in the compound. He wasn't. He just wasn't showing up.
Okay.
In the base.
Well, yeah, it does look like that indeed. You can see the plane is vastly different from the last game. Starting in the north, they're going right the way down to the south, and Indonesia, they are going to opt to take control of a mill base. Might have watched the replay of the last game, saw the rotation coming in, and decided, actually, yeah, tell you what, let's cut them off at chokepoints.
It's also, we've seen in the past where the team that gets control of Billy base, when it shifts down there, just win. I remember, I think it was Hungary versus Poland in EMEA, where Hungary had, I think, 8 players that landed on the military island, and then it shifted there, and they just locked down both bridges, and Poland couldn't find a way in. Oh, and I think it was something like 28-0. So not necessarily take a gunfight, but you need to sort of take some presence towards Everest, maybe get around on the foothills.
Look at how much information
and get a bit of
getting from this position. Yeah. Just they're seeing all the rotations, and it looks like Philippines, they've got themselves radio tower, but I don't think that's a good spot considering it's a lot lower than what Everest is currently. You can see MC Tracker slowly climbing Everest. It could be the dagger in the back that Philippines need for the way this game is playing out, but one man, we've seen time and time again, just not enough. Indonesia still doing the little killing spree on their own teammates, and now we see Philippines, they've got no choice. They have to take the fight on Everest. But look at this L defense coming out by Indonesia. They've spotted exactly where the Philippines are, and they've got their defense set up perfectly.
And once again, it kind of feels like the Philippine team's not really on the same wavelength. You know, we see all these different groups doing different things. Some of them are setting up on the west side. Some of them, like 3 or 4 players, are pushing up Everest. And they just need to do something together. I think sometimes it's not about saying, finding the perfect thing to do. It's about doing it as a team, right? If you send 20 players up Everest, yes, you're going to lose a few of them. But there's only, 8 Indonesian players up there. Eventually, you can just overwhelm the defense. And it does sort of feel like they're doing that. But because they have so many players on the western side, you limit how many players you can get up this hill. And maybe push it to a point where it's too late. But this circle now, we have gone east. As we said, this is the sort of area we're expecting it to end in.
There's a crash coming into Gatka down there in the south. Meanwhile, the push is coming in onto Everest. We've got some US Navy SEAL stuff going on as MC Tracker manages to make his way up. Tiju finds one on top of the hill. Ainsley manages to get the trade in, and while Tiju falls, eventually his DK Bull is there to reply. Got enough players now on Everest to make this push worth it. And you can see the Philippines, they've got some knocks. Mind you, knocking their own teammate in the process, but still, it might be worth.
And this is where we need to see the Philippines just converge on this area, push it, and overwhelm the few Indonesian players here, because it's an opportunity. They can push a man advantage in their favour by just wiping out the players on top of the hill. And yes, it becomes a bit difficult to run down, but if you have like a 4 or 5 player man advantage, it's pretty easy to do. So the Philippines need to just collapse on this. And I want to see a bit of reinforcement coming from Indonesia, recognising that the vast majority of the Philippine players are up here. Just collapse on it. Get all your players up here and just take this gunfight. Because if you can win this out, if you can stop the Philippines from getting any control of Everest, then you could just win this game straight up.
It's really hard to see. You just got the front line. Philippines looks like they've got the top of the mountain right now and they're pushing their way back, but look at the kill feed coming in for Indonesia. RDK and Ain't Zani managing to just stop the forces. Eventually cars running down the hill, you don't want that. I feel like Indonesia have recognized the force and they are investing a lot more players here. For Edv King, it is just a shooting range for these guys up here on the hill. Indonesia, they're holding it. It's 27-23. Maybe will he fall? We don't know. That's the name of the game. And that's his name right there. C1 Moy. I just get an insane spray down.
This was such a perfect counter by Indonesia. They saw that the Philippines wanted to get control of the hill. And, they sent, I think, 20, maybe 25 players up there to try and take it. And Indonesia just reinforced the position, just sent so many players up there and turned it into such a difficult fight for the Philippines to take. And because there was those little pockets of Filipino players still out on the western side, not involved in the fight, the fact that the majority of the Indonesian team, you look at that, there's only, 7 Indonesian players that didn't get involved on that hilltop? Yeah. The fact that they sent so many players to that hilltop means that they were just able to outtrade the fight. And suddenly they've got a 9-player man advantage.
This team at the back, they're getting rinsed. It was their opportunity to come in and really disrupt the back line.
Where's the trade?
Engaging, but there's no trade. It's all just going down. Okay, finally, the trade comes in, but it might be far too late.
It is.
Players are here. There we go. Yeah.
There's no might be there. There's no might be. It is too late. I mean, just right there. There's 2 people there for Philippines. One guy gets knocked, and the other guy just stays prone. Just doesn't do anything, and then he just gets killed by someone else. Like, he needs, in that position, you always need to be trading. Like, that's the number one fundamental rule of Nations Royale, is you need to be trading knocks. And now I just don't see a way that this Philippine team, with what we've seen, the lack of team play, the lack of coherence on the team, I just don't see a way they make a comeback here.
Comebacks are the story that makes dreams possible, but it's 24 for 11, so this dream is more like a nightmare if you're...
It's a pan kill. Oh, no.
Yep. Maybe he gets the pan kill, finishing off.
That's when you know it's going badly. And then now they're just getting picked off one by one, and there's just...
they're running it down mid. That's what they're doing. They're just running it down mid.
This is the ego play by Indonesia to just end the game here. Get rid of the remnants of the Filipino force. And, it's just... it's all about how long you can survive. I think those nades are pretty much bang on. Yeah, he's going to get one. Should be able to get a second one with the second nade, I think, as well. And he gets a knock with the AR, or the DMR, rather. It's all skew at this point. It's now about how many kills can you get before you die, rather than can you win this out. There's another kill, and there's just no return. None of the Filipino players are getting involved, having an impact. Yeah, finally we get a knock. Finally a couple going their way, but realistically, it's just been such a one-sided affair. Yes, we saw that one map go... They're not each other again. And we saw that one map go in favour of the Philippines, but realistically, Vikendi was only because they got such a nice position. They had that control of the hill, and the Indonesians were forced to go for such a one-sided crash. So there we go. Finally, the Indonesians shut them down. 4-1 in the end for Indonesia. And despite the fact that it wasn't actually 4-0,